Welcome to 11 Recaps. Before we start, make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps me keep creating content that entertain you. So, can I count on your support? Thank you for subscribing. The narrative unfolds in the year 654 AD, during the illustrious Tang Empire's reign, which dominated the entirety of the Chinese mainland. In its ambition to broaden its territories, the Tang dynasty, under the leadership of Emperor Taizong, initiated an invasion of Korea, aiming to conquer the kingdom of Goguryeo. The Tang forces advanced toward a crucial border fortress nestled in the Jupal mountain area of Korea. In response, the Goguryeo kingdom swiftly mobilized its defenses, resolute in safeguarding its homeland. General Yun commanded Goguryeo's army, which boasted 150,000 soldiers, but they faced the daunting task of confronting the Tang's formidable force of 200,000 troops led by Emperor Taizong. As the battle commenced, Goguryeo's forces initially gained the advantage. Their cavalry effectively breached the defenses set by Tang's archers and infiltrated the infantry lines. In this precarious moment, some of Emperor Taizong's advisors recommended a retreat, yet the emperor remained steadfast, trusting in his army's resilience. On the other hand, the leaders of Goguryeo felt emboldened as their soldiers fought valiantly. However, Emperor Taizong had a strategic plan in mind. He ordered his cavalry to flank Goguryeo's troops from both sides, executing a surprise maneuver. Before long, the Tang cavalry overwhelmed the Goguryeo soldiers, inflicting severe losses. Acknowledging the grim reality, General Yun commanded a retreat. Ultimately, from the original 150,000 soldiers, only 10,000 managed to escape. In the aftermath of this victory, Emperor Taizong captured a woman named Shirmi, who was revealed to be a seer that had served the late King Yongyu, the founder of Goguryeo. Seizing this opportunity, Emperor Taizong plotted his next move: to capture Ansi Fortress, the final barrier between him and the Goguryeo capital. Under the impression that Ansi was poorly defended, he devised a strategy to take control without bloodshed. Emperor Taizong aimed to leverage Shirmi, who had a unique bond with Yong Manchun, the commander of Ansi Fortress. It seemed that General Yun had labeled Yong Manchun a traitor for not recognizing him as the rightful leader of Goguryeo following the death of King Yongyu during Yun's coup. At the same time, General Yun called upon Samol, a cadet still in training at the military academy. He tasked Samol with a vital mission: to infiltrate Ansi Fortress and eliminate Commander Yong Manchun. Samol was chosen for this assignment because he had once lived in Ansi before relocating to the capital for his military education. Swayed by Yun's rhetoric, Samol came to believe that Yong Manchun was indeed a traitor and accepted the mission without hesitation. Soon after, he set off for Ansi Fortress, where he met two Goguryeo soldiers who wished to accompany him. The following day, they reached the border and encountered three Ansi residents struggling to free a cart stuck in the mud. Samol and his companions offered their assistance. To their surprise, one of the residents revealed himself to be Commander Yong Manchun. Feeling uneasy, Yong Manchun and his aide Chu suspected them of being spies for the Tang and ordered Chu to check their horses. When the true identities of the two soldiers were uncovered, they attacked Yong Manchun, but he and his men quickly subdued them. As Chu prepared to execute Samol, he pleaded for his life, explaining that he was a cadet who had survived a battle against the Tang forces and was originally from Ansi. Samol insisted he had come to learn and support Ansi Fortress. Despite his desperate explanation, Yong Manchun remained wary and decided to take Samol to the fortress for further interrogation. Upon their arrival at Ansi Fortress, Samol was taken aback by what he saw. Commander Yong Manchun was a revered and wise leader, held in high regard by his people. However, Samol felt the weight of his mission from General Yun pressing heavily on him. That evening, he sought out Commander Yong Manchun to relay crucial intelligence regarding the Tang army's impending assault on the fortress. During their conversation, Samol offered to join the defense of Ansi Fortress against the Tang forces. This decision led to a heartfelt reunion with his clan members, which helped reassure the Ansi leadership of his intentions. At that moment, Commander Yong Manchun took the opportunity to introduce him to key officers in Ansi's ranks: Hong, who led the sword unit, and Weo Bo, the leader of the axe unit. As Samol grew to admire Commander Yong Manchun, he found himself tormented by the original directive to assassinate him. Yet, after witnessing the commander's honorable nature, Samol resolved to abandon that mission. The following day, Commander Yong Manchun and his troops began fortifying the fortress in anticipation of the Tang invasion. They strengthened their defenses by constructing spear barricades and building walls from clay and mud. However, their preparations were disrupted when Commander Yong Manchun realized one of his officers, Pa So, was missing. Upon searching, he discovered Pa So with his younger sister, Becca. The commander sternly prohibited their relationship until the war concluded, concerned about the heartache that could arise from losing loved ones in battle. A few days later, Ansi's forces spotted Tang scouts near the fortress. Commander Yong Manchun alerted his troops to the approaching threat of Emperor Taizong and his vast army. He commanded everyone to get ready for defense. Samol, assigned to guard the fortress gates, was taken aback when Commander Yong Manchun asked him to shave his beard. Caught between his loyalty to General Yun and the trust placed in him by Yong Manchun, Samol found himself in a difficult position, especially with the fortress on high alert. Commander Yong Manchun had his suspicions about the true motives of his ally, yet he chose to place his trust in him. At the same time, Emperor Taizong was marching toward Ansi Fortress with a formidable force of 200,000 soldiers, a stark contrast to the mere 5,000 defenders of Ansi. Despite the daunting odds, Commander Yong Manchun rallied his troops, urging them to fight valiantly for their families and homeland. In the initial assault, Emperor Taizong commanded his stone throwers to bombard the fortress walls. However, the strong clay and mud construction of Ansi held firm against the onslaught. Frustrated by this setback, the emperor ordered his infantry to advance, bolstered by archers. A fierce clash erupted as the Tang infantry approached the main gate. Commander Yong Manchun directed Pa to lead a cavalry charge while Becca organized the archers to provide cover from a distance. When the Tang forces finally broke through the main gate, panic set in for Samol. Yet, Commander Yong Manchun quickly reassured him, explaining that the breach was a calculated trap. The invading Tang soldiers fell victim to hidden spear barricades, making them easy targets for Ansi's defenders. Seizing the moment, Commander Yong Manchun initiated a counterattack using a strategic encirclement. The Tang army descended into chaos, with many soldiers fleeing the battlefield. Acknowledging his defeat, Emperor Taizong ordered a retreat, conceding the battle. That night, villagers scavenged arrows still lodged in the bodies of fallen enemies, hoping to repurpose them. Meanwhile, the soldiers celebrated their hard-won victory with a communal meal to restore their strength. Amid the festivities, Samol grappled with his inner conflict, tormented by General Yun's order to assassinate Commander Yong Manchun. The next morning, overwhelmed by his conflicting emotions, Samol resolved to fulfill his mission. In a pivotal moment, Commander Yong Manchun faced Samol, revealing the truth behind the betrayal accusations. Contrary to General Yun's beliefs, Commander Yong Manchun had acted in the kingdom's best interest, not against it. He explained that engaging the Tang forces in open battle would be futile due to their sheer numbers. Instead, he had concentrated on fortifying Ansi Fortress, recognizing it as essential for safeguarding their land and people. Sending reinforcements to General Yun would only lead to unnecessary casualties. Their discussion was cut short when Chu arrived with news of another impending attack from the Tang forces. Without a moment's pause, the defenders of Ansi left their conversation and hurried to ready themselves for combat. Upon returning to the battlefield, Commander Yong Manchun was taken aback to see the Tang army gaining ground, with his troops struggling against the relentless onslaught. In a moment of urgency, Samol implored the commander to take decisive action. With no alternatives left, Commander Yong Manchun plunged into the fray. He instructed some of his soldiers to prepare oil bags, planning to use them to destroy the enemy's siege towers, which had already allowed many Tang soldiers to breach the fortress walls. Under Commander Yong Manchun's guidance, the defenders of Ansi systematically dismantled the towers. Emperor Taizong, witnessing this, was left in disbelief. It was astonishing to him that a small fortress like Ansi could withstand his formidable army not just once, but twice. Consequently, that night, the Tang forces retreated on the emperor's orders. The following day, Emperor Taizong crafted a new plan to seize Ansi Fortress. This time, he dispatched Xuermi, a female seer, to the fortress with a specific mission. Her objective was to persuade Commander Yong Manchun that her visions predicted Ansi's unavoidable defeat. She was tasked with urging the commander to surrender to the Tang forces. However, Schweremy arrived not only as a messenger of the Tang, but also as a covert ally to Ansi. Commander Yong Manchun was informed by a trusted source about the Tang dynasty's ambitious plan to construct an artificial mountain, aimed at gaining a strategic height advantage over Ansi Fortress. Emperor Taizong was determined to implement this bold strategy to secure victory. Shortly thereafter, he mobilized his entire army to begin the construction of the mountain directly opposite Ansi Fortress. With a vast number of troops at his command, he was optimistic that the project could be completed in just 2 months. Meanwhile, the defenders of Ansi grew increasingly uneasy, realizing that their efforts might not suffice against such an unprecedented tactic. In response, Pa So, leading his cavalry unit, proposed a daring plan to launch a surprise attack on Emperor Taizong's tent while the Tang forces were preoccupied with their construction work. Reluctantly, Commander Yong Manchun approved the risky plan, as he saw no better options. Unfortunately, the Tang army had anticipated the ambush, leading to a catastrophic failure for Pa So's forces. Most of his unit was decimated, and only Pa So returned to the fortress, gravely wounded. Before he succumbed to his injuries, he revealed a shocking truth. A spy had infiltrated Ansi's ranks. The news sent shockwaves through the fortress. In her grief, Pa So's beloved Baek Ha implored Schweremy, a well-known seer, to use her abilities to bring back Pa So's spirit. However, Schweremy revealed that she was the spy who had betrayed Ansi by sharing their plans with Emperor Taizong. Commander Yong Manchun, despite their past connection, found her betrayal unforgivable. In a swift act of retribution, Sam Mool took it upon himself to kill Schweremy without waiting for orders. Fueled by a desire for vengeance, Baek Ha set out on her own to confront the Tang camp and avenge Pa So's death. Tragically, her mission ended in failure, and she lost her life in the attempt. In the aftermath of these events, Sam Mool vanished from Ansi Fortress, leaving no trace of his whereabouts. The following day, the Tang forces declared that their artificial mountain would be finished in just 10 days. Meanwhile, the defenders of Ansi were grappling with how to effectively counter this imminent threat. Drawing inspiration from watching his children play in the dirt, Commander Yong Manchun came up with a plan to dig a vast underground tunnel beneath the artificial mountain. He rallied local miners and instructed them to construct a tunnel intended to bring down the mountain's structure. A few days later, Sam Mool arrived at the Goguryeo capital, urgently seeking General Yun's support to bolster the defenses of Ansi Fortress. Despite Sam Mool's brave appeal, General Yun expressed his disappointment, accusing him of failing his mission and betraying his trust. On the same day, Emperor Taizong ordered the Tang forces to initiate their first attack from the newly completed artificial mountain. However, the defenders of Ansi faced challenges as the rain had weakened their tunnel's support beams. A miner stepped forward, volunteering to take down the beams with an axe, joined by several others to assist in the task. As the Tang forces launched their assault, they were unaware that Ansi's defenders had implemented a counter-strategy underground. Just as the attack commenced, the tunnel collapsed, obliterating the artificial mountain. Commander Yong Manchun quickly commanded his troops to seize the remnants of the mountain. This audacious maneuver caught Emperor Taizong by surprise, leaving him in shock. Determined to reclaim the mountain, the emperor ordered his forces to retaliate, igniting another fierce battle. The defenders of Ansi stood firm, utilizing arrows and flaming wheels to fend off the enemy. The conflict continued for days. Despite being outnumbered, Commander Yong Manchun led his troops with relentless resolve, shooting arrows even as his hands sustained injuries. When their ammunition supply dwindled dangerously low, he called for the royal bow that had been left behind by King Yongyu. Commander Yong Manchun faced the daunting challenge of wielding a notoriously difficult bow, yet his determination propelled him to draw it back and release an obsidian arrow that struck Emperor Taizong in the eye. As the Tang army began to waver, the sound of galloping cavalry echoed in the distance. General Yun's troops had finally arrived to bolster the defenders of Ansi Fortress, thanks to Samol's persuasive efforts. With this timely reinforcement, the defenders of Ansi successfully repelled the Tang forces, achieving a hard-fought victory. 3 years later, Emperor Taizong succumbed to the wounds he had suffered in that battle, and with his last breath, he decreed that Ansi Fortress should never again be attacked. Meanwhile, Samol took a moment to say goodbye to Commander Yong Manchun, sharing his intention to further his military education in the capital of Goguryeo.